how to keep in touch with classmates and teachers, many more. My Courses is where students access their virtual classrooms, as well as learning materials. All lessons are recorded, so pupils can always review the lesson recording. My Folder is where students can download, complete and upload homework and assignments. The Chill Out Zone is a place where pupils from around the world join social clubs and communicate with each other. Students can also seek support from the school office on health, safety, community and their future at the Wellbeing Centre. We always promote the progression of each pupil. Dedicated teachers, form tutors and the customer and student support CAST team support students to achieve their ambitions through personalised learning outcomes. Our live online lessons are delivered in a virtual classroom by qualified teachers, a maximum of 15 pupils per class. Classes are grouped by the student's ability and level of comprehension, so teachers can provide more personalised attention, more one-on-one contact with students. Lessons are always engaging and fully interactive. They use a headset to hear the teacher, see a PowerPoint presentation and participate either verbally using a microphone or by typing in the chat box. At the end of every lesson, the teacher sets a homework assignment. All assignments are marked with detailed feedback. Our online school platform provides a comprehensive reporting suite, allowing partners, customers, and parents at any time to check on a student's attendance and participation, homework submissions, grades, and end-of-term reports, alongside automated non-attendance alerts. Partners, customers, and parents can also log in to their own portal to contact staff at any time for specific queries.
Hello everybody, welcome along, good day to you. My name is Laura and I'm going to be leading you through today's session. We are looking at how we can support teachers to support students when they are learning English. I have been with Nissai now for over 11 years and I've seen a lot of change in that time, and we've really developed a lot of experience and expertise in the teaching profession and supporting everybody around the child. I hope that you are all going to enjoy the session. Nissai is a company that will support everyone where possible, both teacher and student, and that is what we're going to focus on today. My background saw me join Nissai as a teacher, specialising in history, and through the years I have looked at many different areas, leading groups of teachers and going on to develop the courses as well. If you have any questions, then please ask them. We have a session in the middle of today's time where we'll look at questions, and then we can follow that at the end for any further questions as well. So what I'm going to do now is just share with you a little information about how Nissai is able to support teachers to support students when they are learning English. The first thing that we really need to consider is what support students need. And that can be different for every learner. Grading. Every learner has its own need. And we, as teachers, as professionals, needs to be aware of those needs. This can come through our own experience and training, and also the experience of others. That experience will be able to actually develop our own skills and that of others, sharing best practice and the ability to can build on student needs and their way of learning. We've done previous sessions where we have considered learning styles and teaching styles. And all of that will come together to be able to support the learner. So some of those needs will be academic needs. What do they need for their learning? What do they need to be able to progress within the classroom? And then there are additional needs, which will look at emotional support, physical support. It could be that they can't buy a particular resource. So we need to look for alternatives, which may be cheaper. As teachers, we are there to support the learners. We hope to be able to help them to reach their best outcome. Everything we do is geared towards that final outcome for the learner, whether that is their qualification or if it is progression and the ability to go on to a brighter future. The way in which we support that learner can make a massive difference to them. You can think about teachers that you remember from school. You can think about those that made you passionate to learn. And that can be all it takes sometimes. A lot of support could be needed, not for the actual learning, but for the comprehension, to be able to understand what it is that you're teaching. We think about ways that students show us that they don't understand, even if they don't say it. Any confusion that they might have, any disengagement of your lesson. It could be not that it's too hard or too easy or that the student doesn't want to learn, just the way it's been described means they've not fully understood it. So as we teach, we find different ways to do the same thing. Our learners have such complex needs. No two students are the same. And so we have to think about what that learner needs. For this particular student, what do they want? What do they need from me as their teacher? How can I make sure that they are getting the best, that they're getting everything that they need from this lesson, from their time at school? How can I make sure that I'm challenging them in different ways? Maybe they do understand the lesson and they are able to work effectively. What else can I do for them? How can I push them, stretch them, challenge them? We can think there about vocabulary. Are you using simple words or are you introducing extended vocabulary? Can you think of ways to make your learners more confident in using English? So if you're teaching an English subject, are you using only English? Is it something that they're having to use in context every day? Do they use it outside of lesson? Is there a way that you can reward them for continuing to use English? Having the opportunity to succeed, to have that success recognized, to be praised, it can be a motivational factor for the students to use English more, which will make it easier for them to use it in your lessons. Something to think about is pronunciation. Many students will use English, and we know that sometimes reading can be an easier version along with listening. And it's writing and speaking that take a bit more time for students to develop those skills. So pronunciation, how we say a word, can be quite important. The student will write it down. They'll be able to read it and understand it. But do they know how to say it? Practicing pronunciation is vital. You have to be confident as well. So your confidence is just as important as the students. We know that there are differences between boys and girls and how they actually react to English or any kind of written work in general. Boys seem more hesitant or more naturally linked to your number-based and fact-based subjects like maths and science. Girls engage better with English. They prefer reading. They like to use their imaginations and to say a lot of words. Where boys, more hesitant, they tend to just do the bare minimum of what they have to in a written subject. They don't like to extend. That is a generalization. You will find some boys will engage well and some girls will struggle. But on the whole, we need to think about how we can engage boys in English. Do we have to think about the examples that we give or the texts that we study? How can we make it more appealing? Using a network of peers, talking to other teachers can help you to support them. Thinking about ways that other people have successfully engaged boys or others who are struggling can help you to put that in place in your classroom. To be successful, we have to be confident. To see the teacher confident will give the students confidence. But even if you're not always certain, we have to show confidence. It allows the students to fully trust what you are telling them. So if we think about English and why we learn it, it is an important language. You will find that through English, it will open up more opportunities for learners. It will allow them to engage. It will show them how It will show them how it can help them with communication and with business. It will show them how they can open up the world with that use of the English language. I'm just trying to stop it jumping ahead here. The ability to speak English can help them to engage with others. It can allow them to have meaningful conversations with people around the world. It is a common language. It's something that they can use to speak to people not only in England, but around the world. They can continue to use English while they study and as they join work. They might want to attend a university in another country. It's quite possible that English is an accepted language within that university. They might not want to go to that university, but they have the option, whereas somebody who doesn't learn to use English doesn't have that option available to them. To be able to go on and have every door open means that their progression is going to be better than those who don't. They can do what they want to from that point because they have developed their skills. We know that the earlier you start learning a language, the easier it is. Young people are more able to take on additional languages than as we get older. You can see students who are bilingual from birth. Family use multiple languages around them they can grow up learning both of those just as naturally as their own native language. When we have to do it as we get older, we have to work harder. So our students are at an age where they can take this information on. And so we are best placed to support them in that. Again, the way that you can support your learners is to make it more natural. It means that you can show that behavior and support that language. You can answer questions. You can support them in other ways to use it in and out of your lessons. The more confident that they are, the more they're willing to try. If they know that they can try using English, they might get it right, and they might get it wrong, but you'll support them, they'll carry on trying. English is a common language. The first graph at the bottom there shows you that there are over 118 countries that speak English. That means if they have that language, they're able to communicate with people within those countries. That opens up a lot of doors. Obviously, it's not the only language. There are many languages that will be very beneficial to the learners. In our current world, in the middle, we need to think about the internet. A lot happens now online, especially with the pandemic. Absolutely, in the text chat there, traveling as well. So it doesn't have to be just something that's for work that they're maybe not thinking of, or for study that they don't want to do. They can travel, they can go and have fun. And it can just help them be a bit freer with that as well. Yeah, I agree. With our online world, we see that people are able to post a video and comment on it. You've got posts traveling around all of your social media outlets. You've got news agencies now targeting an online audience. The vast majority of online content is written in English. Yes, you will find that some sites have a translation feature, but not all of them. And again, it's about using able to post a video and every opportunity that's available. Traveling around all of these social media outlets. You've got news agencies now targeting an online audience. The vast majority of online content is written in English. If we'll find that in English, then we've got those doors and we can choose which doors to go through. If we're not learning it, then we're just limited in that progress. Okay. So it gives the students an option, and it becomes completely then their choice as to what they do with it. But it just gives them more opportunity. And then we think about the world of business. English, again, is one of the common languages that is used within business. That means if they're thinking of their future, it can help them. It can help them to engage with other companies around the world that could help them. They can be more openly involved in conversations, or they could have the opportunity for promotion because they have a skill above another person. And so it can be really important for our learners to develop their skills within English. Questions, that's great. So what we need to think about is what it is that we can do. What is it that students need? What is it that we as teachers can provide to them? But also then, what do we need to be able to do that? So we have different ways that we can support those students. We'll do it in lesson. It's the one we do the most of. During a lesson, they're learning English. We'll support them there. We'll think about what it is that they need in a face-to-face situation on a live basis. And we can see areas where they need support. They can't answer a particular question. We help them with that. They struggle with a word, we'll show them the definition. But there are other things that we can do as well. Modeling is incredibly important. If we are teaching them English, we need to make sure that our English is good and that we use it. They need to see us use it correctly. That behavior is just as important as within a lesson. We need to praise them, give them the confidence to try and the recognition of attempting it. Monitoring their own progression. It might not seem like a big step, but it could be for them. We can add in additional sessions for those that need it, either for those who are struggling or for those that we can extend further. And we think about learning in context. So it doesn't just have to be, here's a piece of information, read it, learn it. But what does that mean when they go out there into the real world? If they go traveling, how can they use that knowledge of the English language to help them? Our students are our students in the lesson or out of it. I remember my teachers from when I was at school. They still make a difference to me now. There's particular teachers who taught me things and I still remember the way that they taught it, and that's how I now teach it. We can have a big impact on the future of these young people. So let's think about us for a second. We, as teachers, are there to support the students. But what do we need to do that? Teachers can't give their best to their students if they're not supported themselves. Teachers have to be confident, they have to have their resources, they have to be guided, and they have to be able to complete an activity at the student's pace. We need time, that's the big one. So your lesson time, your planning time, any extracurricular activities you get involved in, you have to have time. That's time with the student, time with them to develop those skills and to offer that praise that I was just talking about. But also time for planning, time for yourself, time for you to do professional development, go on courses, to talk to peers. Time can make a difference. We live in a world where everything's at our fingertips and everything's got a lot quicker. We can get information in real time, within seconds. Sometimes we just need time to relax. You have to make sure that you get that. If you find that you have too much, who can you ask to help you with that? Because you no longer have time. You're not planned like you used to be. You don't have everything ready for your lesson. You're rushing. Your lessons are no longer as good as they used to be. Who can help you? Don't be afraid to ask for help. Whether that's from other teachers, from management within school, or even just friends and family, of what they can do to help you. Guidance can help as well. Whether that's senior leaders, experienced teachers, or working as a department. Linking that in with experience, what have you done before that works, that's effective, that can happen quite quickly? And sometimes we need support with resources. Again, the internet is a wonderful place. There are many resources that can be available to you that's shared by our peers, by other teachers around the world. We can use them and adapt them. We don't have to use them exactly as they come to us. Think about what works best for your students, make those changes. But you could use a resource that already exists, again, to help you with time. We don't need 20 teachers all creating the same resource. That time can be better spent somewhere else. So you can share planning responsibilities with other teachers of English in your school, and you can use international support from teachers around the world. So then we can think, what can we do? So you can, of course, use your peers, use those people around you. But sometimes you might want to look at external people that can help as well. So there are companies who can come and can help you with your support of those learners and for your personal progression. The teachers are teachers because they care. They're passionate. They're full of ideas and experience. They want to help And yes, they want to help their students, but they'll also quite happily help peers, other teachers. We make our students aware that they can ask for our help at any time. We need to do the same thing. Again, modeling that behavior. We don't know everything. There's somebody else who knows how to do something better than me. I can ask for their help. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a strength. I can understand where my own limitations are. I can ask other people to support me with that and develop upon that. My progression then means that I become better at a skill, and I can use that to go on to help my students. Nissai has over now 25 years of experience. We have teachers with us who have a lot of experience from different backgrounds. We use that, we build on that to have the support and guidance in place that teachers so desperately need. It can be that we support the teachers, it can be that we support the students, or sometimes we're doing both at the same time. We can look at academics, teaching courses, we can look at skill development, building confidence. All of these things are best for the student. They are the ones that will develop and become a whole-rounded person. We don't want to just develop academic skills, be able to recall information, but not be able to be creative with how we use that information. We have a network. You're all involved in that. Being able to communicate with other people to share best practice. That communication, that wider network, can really help us to push the future of education and what it's going to look like. Teachers join a teaching system that has been in place for hundreds of years. But the current teachers are the future. With the growth of the internet and global recognition, education has to change. This generation is the one that's going to make that change. Online teaching during the pandemic came as something new to a lot of people. And we had to adapt, and teachers had to figure it out as they went along. And on the whole, they did. But you've got people with expertise. We've been delivering online. We can share that to make sure that students around the world have the best outcome for their education while these changes are going on. So just a little something about us then. We have a lot of UK specialist teachers. They're native speakers, and that can be a big thing. We'll get to the questions in a little while, but I've seen some coming up there asking particularly about grammar and linking in with pronunciation as well. Having a native speaker can help to answer your questions or their questions. It can give you some ideas about everyday situations of how English is used. It can give them the opportunity to pick up words that are more natural to a native speaker rather than the formal wording. So using a colloquial or a slang term can make them seem more at ease with the language. That pronunciation, it can be difficult. Accent can make a difference to that. We are well aware of different ways that words are said, but it's still going to link it to a native language, to the accepted form of that pronunciation, which means that they can be clearer with their communication. They will be better understood. We all know that it can be frustrating if we're asked to repeat something a number of times because they've not understood what we've said. And so that clear pronunciation, learning that in context, can again help your students to really master the language. If we are continuing to use English outside of the lessons, they pick that up. They're hearing it. If they hear other people talking in English around them, it becomes more natural to them and they're more willing to do the same thing. They can pick up particular intonation as we're talking, the stress that we put on a certain part of a word. Think about particular nuances, the vocabulary that's used. They become, again, more confident in using that, in trying it out themselves, and it becomes more fluent, meaning that they then have the opportunity to engage within that, to take them in to communication for further education, for travel, for business, for accessing online content. They do become more confident and more able. Our teachers here work along a number of different people from around the world to help with that development. Yeah, I can see again in the text chat that the parents maybe didn't have the same opportunities as the children do. And they're able then to kind of pass that skill on and teach their parents. It does become a nice family bonding activity as well. I think I mentioned in our last session a program that we have called Units of Sound. This is a tool which we have as part of our group that students can use to help them develop their understanding of the English language. It's split into 4 sections: reading, spelling, memory, and dictation. This allows students or adults to work independently at developing their understanding of particular words. It helps them to build vocabulary and to build confidence. You are actually able to hear within that a native English speaker, and so you will hear words being said that you repeat back as the learner. It allows for the development of ability as well as confidence. The words within this program will gradually build in difficulty. So you will find that you'll start with quite a simple word and that will get bigger into multiple syllable words. It helps with the development of a long-term memory. they're able to continue to recall those words that they've learned, rather than just being able to immediately repeat it. This is available as a web page, which means that students can access it at a time that suits them, and they can continue to be in charge of their own progression within this. This kind of program helps us to reinforce that idea that they can continue to learn outside of lessons. We can consider teacher training as part of our support package. So we have a variety of courses available, some of them formal training leading to a qualification, some of them informal training focusing on professional development. We can look at key areas that are important for you. We can develop it around your particular needs in your school. We can think about ways that teaching qualifications can help new teachers, unqualified teachers, to focus their attention where it's needed. Thinking about the teaching profession as a whole, or looking at specialist areas within that, and considering our own practice and how we can develop our own skills. Building up a toolbox. Having that support, having the guidance is what we mentioned previously, what teachers need to be able to support their learners. Everything that we do as a teacher, we need to consider the impact that that will have within our classroom, and therefore the outcomes of our learners. As we think about our training, we know it doesn't stop. We start with that qualification, but once we're in the classroom, that's not the end. We'll do sessions like this. We'll take information from other people. We'll look at specialist areas and continue to develop ourselves.
Di mo ganito. Dito, laki ko naman. Papayatin mo lang. Nandulo.
Thank you. We can think about the way that we, even as teachers, are still learners. We're lifelong learners. We'll continue to look at ways that we can get better. Our own development will make us better practitioners. To be able to engage in training will help our students do better with their lives. It gives us more choices, which means that they get more choices. We know that delivering online is not easy. To consider ways in which we can fully engage students online is not easy. And with the pandemic, there has been a lot of change for us and for them. There's been more reliance on technology. We've had to consider new skills and build up a lot of knowledge very quickly. And so teachers need support in that. Again, you look to people with experience and expertise, and we can offer further support with that. As different countries continue to deal with lockdowns during this pandemic, this is something that's still a big need. It's not easy. None of it is going to be easy. But there are ways to engage learners online. To think about different ways that you can deliver the same content that you're used to. That skills can be developed the same way that they used to. We just do it a different way. That goes across all areas. Reading, writing, speaking, and listening can all be completed online. We just need to get a bit creative sometimes. Assessment is something that we always do with our students, and we still can online. We just do it a different way. You might not be able to see their faces all of the time. You might not be able to hear their voices all of the time. But we can think about how they engage. We can think about the best practice within that. The way in which we assess is just sometimes a little bit different. For every piece of engagement, every time that they communicate with you, can be used to assess their progress. We also need to think about particular students. And we think about the way that their needs need to be met. We might have students from SEND. So those with special educational needs and disabilities. They have particular needs, ones that we have to meet to allow them to engage. Every student has the right to learn, and it's our job to make sure that every need is met. That's not easy, especially with so many different areas of SEND that we need to be aware of. Again, we think about external expertise. Who knows about these barriers? Who can help us to come up with ideas that might work for a particular need? We need to think about targets for our SEND children. They have to be realistic. You might find that some students with SEND are going to achieve just as much as your standard students, but some aren't. So what's a realistic target for them? How can we personalize that education to allow them to get the most from it? What content do we need to include? What adaptations do we need to make? How can I find out about their needs, about their disability, about their difficulties, about the struggles that they have just to get to lesson? Our UK students are with us rather than a mainstream school because of a particular need. So they're accessing still UK qualifications, so that's still the same for them. Our students have educational needs. We have a lot of experience of different educational needs. And so again, if it becomes apparent that you have students perhaps on the autistic spectrum or with a physical disability or with a mental disability or a pathological disability, we have seen students with them over our time, had lots of different needs come through, and we've had to adapt and change to make sure that those students can get the best from their education. We can offer that support, share that knowledge. Another important part there is well-being. This links back to what I was saying about time. We need to make sure that both teachers and students are looked after, that their well-being is being considered. It has to be supported along with their learning. If you are supported, if you are relaxed, then your lessons will be better and you will be in a better position to support your students. If you're stressed, underprepared, that begins to reflect within the lesson and your students won't get as much from it. So well-being is important for you as well as the students. You're responsible for student well-being, so who's responsible for yours? What support do you need to be able to achieve that? That can include things you do for fun. So that can be extracurricular activities for the students or for yourself. It can still be linked with learning if that's what you like. It can be a hobby that you have a set time that you go when you go walking, join a club. It can be a networking session with other professionals. You can think about using a planning session to support your well-being by getting support from peers. As long as you are considering what's best for your mental, emotional, and physical health, it counts. Like I said before, don't be afraid to ask for help. It's going to be an important thing as we move forwards. So much to fit into such a short amount of time, we have to use help where it's available. Let me think about the fact that this is now a global community. I like seeing everybody join at the beginning of the session, telling me where they're logging in from, showing all of those different areas around the world. Obviously, I'm here in the UK. And we have many more people not with us today from different areas of the globe. Use it. This peer communication network is here for you. There may be things that in the UK we've been doing for a while that's new to you. There will be things that you're doing that I've not heard of yet. Sharing that knowledge, experience, and expertise will make us better teachers. We're here to support you, and sessions like this are part of that. Think about people that are like-minded, but also people that are different-minded. The support of a like-minded person is great. They think the same way as you, they believe the same things as you, and they can support you quite easily in what you're planning on doing. But a different-minded person, they're the ones that's going to challenge you. They will take you to new places, push the boundaries, make you adapt and change and think differently to develop, ultimately. Something that I regularly tell my students is it's no fun if we all think the same way. We have different opinions, and that's what's good. If everybody thought the same way, there'd be no development. There'd be no new products, no changes to technology. We'd be stuck. We wouldn't be able to make the changes that I was talking about before with this generation. We wouldn't be able to look to the future as a new and exciting place. It would be the same every day if everybody thought the same way. So find somebody that will challenge you. We've got students around the globe accessing our lessons, and they're able to be in lessons together, which means that they're also learning from each other. We've got first-hand experience of that happening, and it's great to see. The way that they can communicate with each other, and again, they use the common language of English for that, which means that those opportunities are already there for them. They're learning from each other. They're talking to each other, finding out what's happening in that country or this country, finding out about each other's culture, communicating freely around the globe from, again, a young age. And that's something that will continue with them through to adulthood. That support is there for you and for students. Use it. Okay. So what I'd like to do at this point is take a short break from me talking too much, and we will consider some questions. So I know that some have been coming into the text chat already, but if there is anything else that you would like to ask, then please go ahead and do that now. To look at some of the ones that have already come through. Okay. A few of these then all link to that same point around vocabulary and pronunciation and the way in which we can extend that, especially for non-native speakers. A key part of this is going to be around modelling and around that practice. So for you to be able to do that is the best way for them. That's kind of the first point. If you're not certain, then what do you need to be in a better position to support your students with that? That's the first thing I'd say to really keep in mind. You can think about different programs that can help. As I mentioned, Units of Sound before is one of those. It can give students the opportunity to hear that from a native speaker, and that can really help. Trying to give that differentiation within a lesson for some that needs further support and some that need challenge is difficult. It's always going to be. We just need to plan and again think about that experience of others. It can be a case of setting up workstations, having different activities. So you've got students who are working on one pathway. You might want to use a colour. So you might have these students are going to do the blue activity today and these ones are going to do the green one. And you know that there's a difference in terms of the level of difficulty or the vocabulary used, but you don't necessarily tell the students that all the time. So they don't need to know that you're working on the harder task, because that can knock sometimes the confidence of those on the lower activity. So colour can be a good way to differentiate. Yeah, with remote learning, it can be difficult. Not everybody can have the microphone open at the same time. It gets crazy. And so you're not going to hear them talking all of the time with remote learning. And so that is another difficulty. Planning, again, is your friend here. To set aside some time in your online lessons, your remote lessons, to open microphones, to give students a chance to talk, or to give group activities that can really develop that. To consider ways in which remote learning can be a benefit is something that I know some teachers have struggled with, because it's just so much change at the same time. But there are tools there to help you to think about the way in which we can use different activities online, which can be fun as well. It's great. Basic grammar rules, it's using it and reinforcing it. The English language, again, I tell them regularly, is actually the hardest language to learn. Because of the historical background of England, here's my history background, and the way in which the empire was built and fell, we have so many different links to different languages. We've got so many different parts of languages coming together to form English, which means that there's no hard and fast rules. There's always an exception to all of it. That means it can be difficult to just say, this is the way that you can learn it. It's a very confusing language. So it is through use that we really get those rules in place and we become aware of it. Another thing I will often ask my students to do, if they're uncertain or if they continually make a mistake, a grammatical error within their writing, is to read it out loud. As I said earlier, with English or with any language, the first bits we pick up are reading and listening, because we can take it, we can compute it, rather than having to formulate it ourselves, which we have to do with speaking and writing. So being able to hear that information means that they can consider themselves if it sounds right, if it's what they've heard before. So they can read out their own information, their own piece of writing, and mark themselves on their grammar. Does that sound right? More errors can be picked up that way than when it's just written down. That's another idea. It's worth a try. Bilingual students who mix up English and their mother tongue. That's a good question. It's, as I said at the beginning, easier for students or children in general to pick up a language if it's used from the outset. Bilingual young people absolutely blow my mind. I'm really impressed with it. But it can be difficult for them. They learn both at the same time and they do mix it up. You will find that there's a young person who will speak fluently in their mother tongue and then drop in 3 English words and carry on in the mother tongue, not realizing that they've done that because both languages are quite so natural to them. It's a tricky one as to how you can get them to realize. But again, I think it's consistency. Pointing out the fact that they've changed language halfway through, not that it's a bad thing. So not telling them off for it or disciplining them, but just, oh, something happened there. Can you try doing that one in English? Think about maybe certain situations that could help the student as well, for them to be able to work through that and to realize what they're doing. Thinking of how we'll do an activity and we'll do this all in English, and then we'll look at a different thing and we'll do that all in your mother tongue. Talk to a particular person in one language and another person in another. Again, so that they can pick up their own links between words to help them to try and keep that clear. Different skills and different ways in which to deliver it using an online teaching platform. Yeah, all 4 elements of English, reading, writing, speaking, and listening, can be delivered online. Different ways to do that have to be considered. So with something like reading, you have the opportunity to bring in a number of skills at one time. You can display a piece of text up onto the board, and you can have the student read it out loud. There they've got their speaking involved there as well. You're also able to pick up on their use of particular pronunciations or intonations and grammar. You can think about how to extend that from that point. With writing, it could be group activities or independent activities. With listening, they're having to listen to you anyway. But how can you make sure that they're listening? It's about the way that you can then assess that and see what feedback you get. So there's lots of options out there. And again, it's using that creativity and thinking about the way in which it's displayed, the ways in which students can engage. So not just listening to you, but what they can do during the lesson, and ways in which you can assess. With online learning, students have to be engaged. They have to have the opportunity to do something. The risk of distraction, shall we call it, is high when they're using a computer. The rest of the internet, their games are all there. You have to keep them engaged within that lesson. They have to have something to do to make sure that they stay with you the whole time. And that's I think, one of the key things to think about when you're looking at online learning. Learning management system to deal with distance education. We have our own systems all in place, which means that our teachers can monitor everything that's going on. We have a lot of data. Because we have them online, we can collate all of that and keep it in a place that's secure for the student data. That's all protected, but our teachers can access as soon as they need it. We don't need to go looking through files. It's right there. We can find it immediately. So that's another benefit to an online system this way. So yeah, a management system is going to be beneficial to you, whether it's a face-to-face teaching situation or an online one. That management of information will be the same regardless of your teaching style. I want to take just a couple of minutes then. You can stop listening to me just for a moment, and we'll replay the video that we had at the start of the session as more people have joined us from there. So I'll go quiet just for a few moments. I want to take
Welcome
just
to
a couple
the
of minutes
Nisai
then.
Global
You can
School,
stop listening to me just for
a
a
new
moment.
age school that
And we'll
brings a
replay the
distinctive
video
British
that we had
education
at the start of the
into the
session
homes
as more
of
people have
pupils
joined
around
us.
the world.
So I'll go quiet just for
Nisai
a few
Global
moments.
School combines the best of British tradition with the
Um,
future of education.
I want to take
Nisai
just a few
Global
minutes
School
then.
delivers a
You can stop
Cambridge
listening to me just for a
International
moment.
accredited curriculum,
And we'll
from
replay the
lower
video
secondary
that we had
to
at the start
Cambridge
of the
International
session.
pupils around. We strive to provide every learner with a holistic and personalised learning experience so that they can fulfill their potential. Students experience both structured and self-paced learning activities within a complete school program in an online strive to provide every Nissai virtual care list. Each pupil with their own secure username and password so that they can access all the functions of the school: personalised timetable, house points, announcement board, school email to keep in touch with classmates and teachers, many more. My Courses is where students access their virtual classroom username as well as learning materials. All lessons are recorded, so pupils can always review the lesson recording. My Folder is where students can download, complete and upload homework and assignments. The Chill Out Zone is a place where pupils from around the world join social clubs and communicate with each other. Students can also seek support from the school office on health, safety, community and their future at the Wellbeing Centre. We always promote the progression learning is a place where dedicated teachers, form tutors, and the customer and student support cast team support students to achieve their ambitions through personalised learning outcomes. Our live online lessons are delivered in a virtual classroom by qualified dedicated a maximum of 15 pupils per class. The classes are grouped by the student's ability and level of comprehension, so teachers can provide more personalised attention, more one-on-one contact with students. Lessons are always engaging and fully interactive. They use a headset to hear the teacher, see a PowerPoint presentation, and participate either verbally using microphones or by typing in the chat box. At the end of every lesson, the teacher sets a homework assignment. They use a headset. All assignments are marked with detailed feedback. Partners, customers, and parents at any time check on a student's attendance and participation, homework submissions, grades, and end-of-term reports, alongside automated non-attendance alerts. Partners, customers, and parents can also log in to their own portal to contact staff at any time for specific queries, attendance and participation, homework submissions, grades, and end-of-term reports, alongside automated non-attendance alerts. Partners
Hi, thank you. As we have a little bit of time left, I'll ask you a few questions as well to really consider how you might take this forwards. You have got there the QR code. This can help you to gain your e-certificate from today for your participation and engagement today. You can use that one with a link there too. That's your preferred way of doing that. Just to thank you for coming and joining us today. As we think about what you're going to do next, we'll consider the questions of what support do your students need and what support do you need? You're the one that knows your situation. You know what your school is like. You know how much remote learning you're still having to complete. We're all in different positions now. Some countries are back to what it used to be like. Some are not. Some are still changing backwards and forwards. But regardless of the pandemic, we still want the best outcomes for our students. And having additional training, additional support could help you. So what is it? What support do you find your students most need? What support do you need to be able to give them that? Okay. Then that's what's going to help you to develop. And you can use us to help you with that, where it'll match up. So how can we help? What do you need? For me, I will always look to my students and think about their progression. You have to think about the individual student. What is good progression for one is not for another. So individually, what have I seen? How have they grown? Where do they struggle? Do I have a student that will answer every question? I can still support them. They still need my help. They still need me to push them further. These could be our leaders of the future. We don't want them to get away with doing just what they have to. We want to push them to achieve everything that they can. Sometimes it might be a difficult decision to have to make, but think about, are you the best person to support them? Are you aware of somebody else with a particular skill set who might be better for the learners? If you have a student that's really struggling, do they need additional support from another member of staff? Do they need some one-to-one mentoring? Are they having emotional issues, and do they need well-being support? Do you have experts in every area within your school? Or do you need to look externally for that? So all of the options are there and available for us. If you find that you need support, where do you get that from? What can you do? Who can you ask? Where can you go? Think about again what's available in school and what you might need to look at from an external body. Teaching is not an easy job. And it's one that we chose to do because we think it's important. The way that things are now and the adaptations that we're having to make because of the pandemic and because of the changes to the world will make a difference. And we're having to do a lot, all in one go. There's a lot of pressure on us. We need to support each other. Absolutely. Sometimes technology isn't there to support it for all learners, especially in some of the more remote areas. There's not a stable broadband connection, for example. It could be that you have to use people locally who can support that in a better way. What support do your students need? And what support do you need to be able to achieve that? Maybe you're looking at community events to help them to use English in a contextualized manner. Maybe you'll think about how they can teach other people. We said already they can use it with their parents. Maybe they can bring it to the wider community, and that can become a learning activity for them while school's not home. Don't be afraid to be creative, to think outside of that box. That's how we're going to develop education to make it something even better than it already is in the future. I know that you'll have students in mind with a particular need. Some of your more difficult students. What do they need? How can you achieve that? Come up with a crazy idea and talk to us about it. Talk to your management about it. We'll see what we can do. We'll try. The biggest regret will always be what you didn't do, not what you did. It's worth trying. If you've done your best, if you tried something out, you can't regret that. It's only when you let things slide that you didn't take the risk. That's where the regret comes. Yeah, at the minute, having to consider technology with remote learning for some more rural areas, not having access to that technology and a secure internet connection is going to cause a difficulty. You can't online learn if you haven't got the technology to support that. But what else can we do instead? Can we think of a rural project that we can set up to support learning in an informal session? Can we communicate with the parents and ask them to do certain things around the home with the students so that they have that opportunity? Are there opportunities for them to go to community centres? It's difficult with a printed worksheet because there's no teacher input and there's no teacher feedback. And that's what our learners really develop from. I absolutely agree with you there. Keep thinking about that. Consider the fact that we're looking for the outcome for the student. And that means we need to also support ourselves and each other. Don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to ask. We're just about finished, so I will leave it there for today. We are going to play that video one more time. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for coming along, and do get in touch if there's anything that we can do to help. A lot of email addresses have been shared there in the text chat for you to get in touch with us. Thank you very much, everyone.
Welcome to the Nisai Global School, a new age school that brings a distinctive British education into the homes of pupils around the world. Nisai Global School combines the best of British tradition with the future of education. Nisai Global School delivers a Cambridge International accredited curriculum from lower secondary to Cambridge International A-levels. We strive to provide every learner with a holistic and personalized learning experience so that they can fulfill their potential. Students experience both structured and self-paced learning activities within a complete school program in an online platform, the Nissai Virtual Academy. Each pupil, with their own secure username and password, can access all the functions of the school: personalized timetable, house points, announcement board, school email to keep in touch with classmates and teachers, many more. My Courses is where students access their virtual classrooms, as well as learning materials. All lessons are recorded, so pupils can always review the lesson recording. My Folder is where students can download, complete and upload homework and assignments. The Chill Out Zone is a place where pupils from around the world join social clubs and communicate with each other. Students can also seek support from the school office on health, safety, community and their future at the Wellbeing Centre. We always promote the progression of each pupil. Dedicated teachers, form tutors and the customer and student support CAST team support students to achieve their ambitions through personalized learning outcomes. Our live online lessons are delivered in a virtual classroom by qualified teachers, a maximum of 15 pupils per class. Classes are grouped by the student's ability and level of comprehension, so teachers can provide more personalized attention, more one-on-one contact with students. Lessons are always engaging and fully interactive. They use a headset to hear the teacher, see a PowerPoint presentation and participate either verbally using a microphone or by typing in the chat box. At the end of every lesson, the teacher sets a homework assignment. All assignments are marked with detailed feedback. Our online school platform provides a comprehensive reporting suite, allowing partners, customers, and parents at any time to check on a student's attendance and participation, homework submissions, grades, and end-of-term reports, alongside automated non-attendance alerts. Partners, customers, and parents can also log in to their own portal to contact staff at any time for specific queries.